In 1896, on the island of Zanzibar, the British decided to claim the territory and installed a puppet sultan to keep the peace. They also demanded the abolition of slavery, which was the main source of trade. On the island, the locals were unhappy, but the British insisted everything seemed stable until the puppet sultan was poisoned by his cousin, Khalid bin Bargash, who then seized the palace. Khalid hated the British and supported slavery. He gathered 3,000 followers and artillery to defend his claim to the throne. The British responded with 5 warships named Raccoon Thrush. Sparrow St. George and Phil Callender had only his personal yacht to oppose them. The British warned him to surrender, but he refused, declaring war. The battle began, and just 38 minutes later it ended. The British quickly destroyed Khalid's defences and installed a new puppet, Sultan named Hamad bin Muhammad. This conflict became known as the Anglo-Zanzibar War, the shortest war in history and one of the most ridiculous. The British achieved their goal with minimal effort, while Khalid fled into exile. The event showed how imperial powers could crush local resistance with overwhelming force, and how a war can be both brief and absurd. Now, let us move to Australia after World War I. The government granted land to returning veterans to farm. However, a drought caused large migrations of emus. These giant birds, 6 feet tall with long claws, arrived in huge numbers, destroying crops, breaking fences, and inviting other pests. The farmers were desperate, and the government sent Major G.P.W. Meredith with soldiers and machine guns to fight the emus. This became known as the Great Emu War. On November 2nd, 1932, Meredith and his men attempted to ambush groups of emus, but the birds were too fast, and scattered quickly. Machine guns jammed and only a few were killed. Even when they tried shooting from trucks, the emus outran them. Meredith complained that the emus faced machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. Newspapers mocked the failure, and the soldiers were humiliated. Eventually, the government abandoned the campaign and offered bounties to farmers instead. Over 57,000 emus were killed through bounties, and the real solution was building better fences. The moral was that sometimes war is not the answer. Next is the War of the Golden Stool in what is now Ghana, the Asante. People treasured a sacred object called the Golden Stool. Legend said it descended from heaven and contained the soul of the nation. No one was allowed to sit on it, not even the emperor in 1900. The British sent Frederick Hodgson to administer the colony. He demanded to sit on the stool and even suggested giving it to the Queen. This insulted the Asante people, who prepared for war. Thousands of Asante warriors attacked the British, and a bloody conflict followed with heavy casualties on both sides. This became known as the War of the Golden Stool. The moral was clear: never try to steal a sacred object from another culture. The British continued searching for the stool for 20 years, but the Asante hid it well in 1921. It was discovered by railroad workers who stripped its ornaments. The Asante sentenced them to death, but the British intervened and exiled them. The stool remained a symbol of unity and resistance. These 3 conflicts, the Anglo-Zanzibar War, the Great Emu War, and the War of the Golden Stool, show that human history is full of strange and sometimes comical wars. They were fought over power, over crops, and even over a sacred chair. Each demonstrates how misunderstandings, arrogance, or poor strategy can lead to absurd outcomes. The lesson is that not every problem needs to be solved with violence. Sometimes better boundaries, respect for culture, or simply common sense can prevent needless bloodshed.